The stoning death of a pregnant woman this week in the heart of Lahore, one of Pakistan's biggest cities, sent shockwaves of outrage around the world because the killing was done all in the name of so-called honor. The 25-year-old with her husband when her father and relatives ambushed the couple in broad daylight. Her husband's cousin says the relentless attack was premeditated.
They were about 30 or 35 people. They suddenly attacked us. The girl was with us. She was 3 months pregnant. When they caught her, we struggled with them, but they fired a shot. Then they dragged her there and hit her with bricks. A couple of bricks hit her in the brain.
The couple had eloped in January against the consent of the bride's family. In retribution, her father committed what is called an honor killing. In Pakistan, one human rights group says more than 1,000 women in that country are killed each year. According to the United Nations, honor killings are a lot more common than one would expect. The killings have been reported in at least 20 countries, even including developed nations like the United States, Canada, and Sweden. Dr. Shaul Gabbay teaches about the Muslim world at Korbel School of International Studies at the University of Denver, and he joins us from Denver, Colorado. Dr. Gabbay, welcome to Arise America, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I think for most of us, particularly that were born and raised in America and in a Western culture, we have no comprehension of the rationale behind a so-called honor killing. Can you explain the cultural thinking behind this act?
There's no question that this tragic event has to be condemned, as well as the many thousands which take place every year in the Muslim world and in the Arab world, as well as you pointed, in the Western world. To understand where does this come from, we need to really understand the pyramid of norms and values which are very different in Western societies as opposed to the eastern part, the Muslim world, which is we put at the top of the value pyramid life. We would preserve life at any cost. In that part of the world, the most important value is honor. And the derivative of the shattering of the honor, the derivative of the decrease of honor of a family, which could go for generations forward, is the norm of possibly killing a person for deviation from the norm of the family or of the society at large.
And what then is gained by the killing? How does that restore honor, if you will?
We have to understand that the promise of a bride to, in particularly, a cousin, which is very prevalent in the Muslim world, in Pakistan in particular, and in Pakistani families all throughout the world, even in England, this is an act of trust between two families, which in many ways has also economic ramifications, namely to keep the value of the assets within the family. Once this is taking place, and sometimes it's even when the children are 13 years old, this is a commitment for generations that these two individuals will create the families and move forward in terms of the development of the family network forward. If this is shattered, then the whole issue of trust, the honor, the name, the particular promise that was shattered, all of this affects not just the family, the immediate family, but also the other circles, the cousins of the cousins, till it comes to the society at large. And therefore, the restoration of the honor is not just a prerogative, it's a responsibility of the heads of the family, because it will have an effect for generations forward.
I understand everything that you just said, but you also said that there is an economic component in this particular case. This young woman who was 3 months pregnant, who was killed, as I understand it, it's reported that her husband and she were offered the opportunity to pay the equivalent of $1,000 US, I believe 100,000 rupees, to avoid this retribution. They could not pay, and so therefore she was killed. So what does that have to do with honor?
Well, first of all, even when you go 1,000 years back, you understand that sometimes there is what is called blood money. Even if a tribal individual is killed by a tribe, there is a responsibility for killing someone from my tribe. But this could be offset by what is called blood money. We have to also remember we are not sure about the details that come out from this particular story. This is a very, very intimate phenomena that happens within the confinement of a very small group of individuals. To ascertain what really happened and what really took place in terms of the money situation is very difficult. However, it is prevalent that in some situations money could offset the possibility of shattering and restores the honor. We also have to remember that $1,000 in that part of the world, particularly for a very poor family, has a different connotation, has a different effect than $1,000 as we perceive it here in the West and the United States in particular.
Absolutely. I think everybody would agree $1,000 is a significant amount of money. I'm all out of time, Dr. Gabbay, but I just want to ask you, can you recite off the top of your head the proportion of women that are the victims of these honor killings as opposed to men?
It's almost 90% that it is against women, and of course it is a mirror of the status of women in a patriarchal society where men take the most important positions, where men take the most important positions even within the family. The place of a woman is very different than the place which is the way that we perceive the place of women as an equivalent to a man in a Western society.
You've explained it very well, but it's still very hard to understand. Dr. Shaul Gabbay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is Arise America.